Hello and welcome back. This is Game Breaker AGDC Live 2009. I'm sitting here with Steven Danuser. Sorry about that. Tell everybody who you are.
I am the creative director for 38 Studios located in Maynard, Massachusetts.
And what is 38 Studios and what are you working on?
Well, 38 Studios is basically an MMO developer. We're an entertainment company. So one of the cornerstones of what we're doing is going to be this huge fantasy MMO that we haven't announced the details. We just call it Project Copernicus. But we're going to be talking more about it next year. We're kind of playing it quiet right now. But as a company, we also have a studio in Baltimore. We acquired Big Huge Games. And so they're developing an additional product in the same universe. So we think of ourselves as an entertainment company because what we're doing is creating this IP that we feel will span multiple products and create this kind of rich universe for these experiences that our players can engage in.
Very cool, and that's kind of been a recurring theme in the past interviews I'm talking about is MMO players, because the MMO player is such a hobbyist. It's different than consoles. So as MMO players, we usually want to consume different pieces of material. So it's not just the game, it's books, it's maybe videos, it's comic books, it's novels, it's maybe films. So that's very cool. So you guys are thinking about this right from the start before you even tell anybody what you're actually creating.
Yeah, in the early days when the first MMOs were launching, you know, people thought of them as just individual games, just like any other type of game. But, you know, it's clear that these have become lifestyles for people. I mean, they obsess about these games.
Yep.
They think about them when they're at work. You know, they check on the web, they chat with their friends, talk about what they're going to be doing in the game.
Yep.
So this kind of whole hobbyist atmosphere has really built up about it. So, you know, you can, if you're a World of Warcraft fan, you can go buy books about WoW, you can buy novels, you can buy toys, all these kinds of things that have kind of sprang up as they went along. We try to think about that from the beginning and say, okay, this is a universe we're building. How can we best position things within it to really feed that desire for the people who want to immerse themselves in this 24/7?
Right, and I've been saying that forever, that I almost find it amazing that a lot of the studios, I don't want to say have fallen behind, but they haven't really caught up to the technology of things like my iPhone. Like, there's no reason that I can't grab my iPhone and should be able to go on the auction house on WoW and maybe, like, you know, do things like that in between class, which we shouldn't be doing at school. But, you know, at the mall, you know, and that's something that really struck me about Vivox as well, is like how their voice integration would work, and like you could call a phone number and call your guild leader in game and say, hey, what's going on, or there's a raid, and that's something that is so lacking in the genre that seems almost like it should have been there years ago, is the community, because that's what these games are. They're so social, and they're communities. I mean, a lot of them, I say they're like glorified chat rooms, because it's like a lot of them we keep playing these games for years and years sometimes because of the community and the friends and the bonds we have. So what are you guys looking to do? You know, can you talk about anything in that community section of are you guys looking at iPhone stuff and take it with you and go everywhere and never leave this top secret 38 Studios fantasy MMO that we're all waiting?
Yeah, I like you alluded to earlier, I think if you're in this space right now and you're not thinking about how can I get people on mobile apps, how can I get somebody to text message from their mobile phone and get it to their friend in game, then you are going to fall behind, and you're going to lose that edge that you have. And that's one of the reasons why Vivox attracted us right from the beginning, was because of that foundation of, you know, you guys want to connect people in all the different ways that you can, and that's something that we want fundamental to the core of our game, rather than something that gets bolted on later.
Right, which always seems like the death of a lot of games. They start bolting stuff on. You've been around a long time. I mean, you've come through and saw EverQuest 2 and how you worked on that project. Tell me anything about that.
I started out in the as community manager for EverQuest 2 before launch, and saw that project through several of its expansions and moving into game design. And it was a really interesting, you know, it's a big learning process, because these games are so massive and there's so many moving pieces. To just for anyone to even release an MMO is a huge undertaking. Even if it's just, you know, a run-of-the-mill MMO, it's a huge, massive workforce required to do that. So to create one that is really special and resonates with the fans is something that's really gratifying. So one of the things that I always loved doing when I was at SOE was going to the fan fairs where the community people were coming together to celebrate the games. And, you know, when you meet people who are in wheelchairs or are handicapped in some way, and they play these games, and it gives them an equal footing with, you know, people who can walk normally, and it gets them beyond their disabilities, and lets them become full members of the community without any kind of barriers or things they have to feel. There's an acceptance there. Yeah. It's extremely powerful. Those kind of stories, I'll never forget some of the people I met through that.
I have some similar too. When we were doing the last podcast we were doing, I would get emails from soldiers in Iraq, and they'd be like, "You guys get us some of us through like these hard times," and we're just like, and it blew me away the first time. I was just like, wow. And I have the same thing with disabled people. No, that's the great thing about games, and like, you know, the community aspect, and people are creating friends and bonds so quickly now in games. And I mean, I keep going back to voice, but voice I think is a huge part of that, because I remember when I first started playing EverQuest and it was all text-based, there was always that disconnect between people. Like, you could never get that same thing from a chat box. And then when we started seeing voice things happen in Ventrilo and stuff like that, I didn't want to adopt it. I was like, oh, this is weird. I don't know what's going on. This is kind of bizarre. I'm going to start talking to people that I don't really know. But as soon as I did fire it up, because I had to at that point, and started talking with these people, in 5 minutes, all of a sudden, it's like, all right, man, what are you doing tomorrow? You want to play? All right, cool. Joe, hey, now he's my buddy, you know, and it's powerful. And I'm meeting more and more people here who tell me stories about how they've met their significant other playing a game, and it's not weird anymore.
Yeah.
You know, meeting people online isn't weird, and these MMO social games are not that much different in a sense from a dating service if you think about it, because, well, you can meet really like-minded people.
Yeah.
And you hang out with them all day, and you talk to them, and you get to know them. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, back in the early days, I was really reluctant to move into voice stuff. But like when you're with a guild of people and you're going out on some massive raid and you're taking down some boss and everybody's cheering and just, you know, yelling grats to the people who win loot, it just takes it to this whole personal level that just really energizes you all the more. And people who don't type as well can suddenly participate in these things. And you find some of the funniest people who, you know, never typed much before, but they're riffing off jokes.
Yeah, they
and
have great
like
personalities and stuff like that. That's very cool. I'm glad. It's nice to hear that you guys are thinking all about that right from the get-go. What else do you have anything else about the game you can tell us?
Oh, man. You know, it's
I know it's still locked down right now. You guys don't want to say much.
Yeah, we've deliberately tried to be quiet this year so that we can start showing some things next year. But, you know, I'll just say in addition to Kurt Schilling of the Red Sox, who's our founder, we have R.A. Salvatore, New York Times bestselling novelist, and, you know, he's created the foundation of our lore.
Tell me a little bit about that. You've got some really heavy hitters in the story department.
Yeah, we've got
Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane, who's the overseeing the art direction of the game, and of course, you know, Todd's empire of Spawn and toys.
So we know the artwork is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah. It's really great to see Todd interact with our artists, and, you know, he's not trying to force his style on them in any way. What he's doing is bringing out the best of them, and he's taking his years of experience of knowing, you know, these are the kinds of elements in an image that make it resonate with people, and let's bring that to not only the characters and the environments, but the animation, the poses that the characters take. All that kind of stuff is just invaluable and really makes us think on a different level, you know, that it's not just this game, it's this experience. It's like moving paintings that come to life.
Very cool.
And he really brings that out. And the story that Bob has created just inspires all of us, you know, and we have this, it really, very early on, it really gelled into this world, this experience that made us say, you know, this isn't just an MMO, this isn't one game, this isn't two games, this is a universe that we can really pull people into and show them all these different facets of it and give them things that really resonate with them.
Very cool. That sounds awesome. What are you playing these days?
You know, MMOs are my kind of game. So, you know, I picked up Champions Online recently. I'm playing a lot of that. Looking forward to the launch of Aeon next week.
Yep.
Other games that will be coming out.
I'm playing both as well.
Yeah.
I was very pleasantly surprised with Ion. Ion.
I don't know which way to say it.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's the pretty one.
Yeah,
and
it's the beautiful graphics that runs really well.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It was kind of off my radar for a little while to play it, and then somebody sent me a link and said, hey, you really need to read about like the PvP stuff later on at like 2025. And when I read it, I was like, wow, this sounds like a spin on Dark Age a little bit. It's like, with the 3 factions, but one of them's AI, and it's like, sounds really cool. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, it's a really great time to be in the MMO space because there's so many people that are trying different things. And as these games evolve, we all play each other's games. We all look at that and see what works and what doesn't. And I think more and more of these features will get pulled together. And, it's something we try to do. We try to look at the things other people have done, take those best practices, put them together, take that level of polish you've seen from people like Blizzard and apply it to a game like this so that it's, the great thing about playing WoW is that you don't have to think about playing WoW. It's just something, it feels so seamless. You just get in there and do the stuff you want to do. That's the kind of experience we want to give to our players, where it's not about hitting buttons and the controls. It's just about immersing yourself in this world and feeling, that everything is thought through. Everything is there for a reason. Every little piece of the world has a story to tell. And we want players to explore that as they like and encounter those stories and feel that richness that we're putting into everything we do.
Cool. Where do you see the MMO industry? What kind of innovation do you think you'll see in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, I mean, there's a few things that still bug me about MMOs. Quests drive me crazy. The kill 10 rats and FedExing is like, I don't have the answer for the better way, but I just feel like there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
We all feel that, all the trash quests that get thrown in there that like don't really have the great storyline and things like that. I don't know. And AI is my other pet peeve of just becoming, I feel like MMOs have only scratched the surface with virtual worlds and stuff like that. But what do you see happening in the next 5 to 10 years that as a gamer we would benefit from?
Well, I think some of the things you touch on, the importance of quests needs to come back. It needs to be this immersive story that you feel in everything you do, and it's not just about killing 10 random things. It's about being embedded in the world and discovering those little stories that I alluded to earlier, those things that are driving
But how as a
it.
developer could you sit and craft a world that large with epic storylines throughout everything? Is that where you think you just have to spend the time and just do it?
See, the thing of it is, it doesn't have to be epic storylines. That's one of the things that trips people up, I think, is in previous games, every little quest was always like, you've got to save us from this. The world is going to fall apart if you don't kill these 10 rats that are eating my cheese. It's not about that. It's about pacing. And that's something that, Bob Salvatore, as this novelist, knows how to pace stories about. So it's more about making the stories personal and meaningful to you, and then peppering in those big, the world does hinge on this sometimes, about you and your friends coming together to face this big challenge. But it's not just about making every silly thing this huge epic journey. Make it personal to you. Make it something that resonates with the character you've created, the class you've chosen, the friends you've made, those kinds of things. And it makes the story come alive through those experiences. So that's one of the areas. I think I think the social aspect is just going to be one of those things that, nobody's going to take for granted anymore. I mean, everyone's so connected through social networking sites, and that stuff has been kind of bolted on to this point.
That development's going to start from day one.
Yeah, you have to be thinking about those things. So that's going to be a huge thing. How can I keep people in this world when they're
24/7?
When they're not supposed to be, like
Give
you
me
said,
the ever crack while I'm at the mall, I'm in between classes, and I'm
Yeah.
checking the auction house. Hey, did I sell that blue? Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
okay,
stuff
cool.
like that. And I think it's not. Early on, people thought, well, it's going to be about technology. It's going to be about higher res graphics, and it's about being more realistic. I don't think it's about that at all.
No, WoW proves that we've gone back a little bit. They went totally not photorealistic and pushing it, and that was the smart move.
It's about creating a style, an atmosphere that pulls people in, that makes them feel heroic, that makes them and their friends feel like they're doing something great in this world. And give them a stake. Give them a stake in saving the world. Make it their own. That's going to be one of the things that drives a lot of these.
And we're not going to go back to text where I got to go like, thank you, turn right. No.
Right. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I had one more question for you, and I totally lost my train of thought.
Well, we're several days into a GDC, so
last night was
a lot of memories are being faded.
Last night was a hard one.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Anything else you want to tell us about? You guys, 2010 is the year for you guys to kind of unveil a little bit more information. Maybe we'll find out what the project is. And
yeah, we're gonna have some very exciting things to talk about. I wish I could say more now, but it's really better if we keep our heads down, focus on what we're doing, building this experience. And when we talk about it, people are going to see the amount of thought and care that's been put into it. Because when you're making something like this, it isn't just about strategizing and trying to come up with, you know, systems that keep people entwined. It's really about care and love and creating something that you feel proud of and that you really want people to share in this experience with you. So that's the approach that we take.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you.
Stephen from 38 Studios, we're looking forward to hearing more information. Hopefully in 2010 we'll see something. Thanks.
You will.